Welcome to Supreme Book Dealer. My name is Wes, and it is a new month, and you know what that means. We have to wrap up all of the books that we read for the month of July. So we're going to talk about all the books we read. We're going to look at where we're at number-wise. So if you remember correctly, our goal is to read 50 books this year. Not a unreachable goal by any stretch of the imagination. It is definitely doable, and I think that we are well on our way to reach that goal. So now, before the month of July, we were at 24 books. You heard that right, 24 books. So let's see where we're at now that July is over and we are officially in the month of August. So the first book we're going to talk about is a book called One of Us is Back. And this book is by Karen M. McManus. And it is the third book in the One of Us is Lying series. So for those of you who don't know, One of Us is Lying is a book that I really enjoyed reading. Its sequel, One of Us is Next, is not really a book that I enjoyed. It was okay, but it was nowhere near as good as the first book. So I was doubtful yet optimistic, although that sounds like it contradicts each other, that this book was gonna be a solid book. And I'm happy to say that I actually enjoyed reading the book. It wasn't as good as the first one. It was way better than the second one. And I realized that the reason I didn't like the second book is for two reasons. One, it took too long for the action to pick up. I've grown so connected to the characters in the original book since they played a more secondary role in the sequel. I just really couldn't get with the new characters that were introduced. This book, I think, rights both of those wrongs. The original, the action picks up fast, like very close to the beginning of the book, and we have our characters come back, and they have more prominent roles. And we also get an antagonist that comes back. I don't want to ruin it too much for you guys, but an antagonist that comes back and stirs up a whole bunch of trouble. So I really enjoyed this book. I would give it a 7 out of 10. But still absolutely loved this book. So the second book that I read was a book that I read with my students. As some of you may know, I am a ELA teacher for middle school, and so obviously we do a lot of reading, and we ended up reading The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind by William Kwakwamba. So now this is a memoir. It's not really a style that I would actually pick up in a bookstore. I prefer YA fiction as opposed to like memoirs and autobiographies and biographies. But we read this during the summer because I had to teach summer school this year, and I was actually really impressed because it is, although it's a memoir and it's nonfiction, it is written like an actual story. So I can appreciate this style of writing. So we learn a lot about this young man who was from the village of Malawi, and he actually built a windmill out of scraps that filled his village with energy and electricity and helped them get food and clean water. And this young man is brilliant, and his story and the stuff that we learn about him is really inspiring. And of course, it's a true story. So it really inspires teens to step out of their comfort zone and to know that they can actually make a difference. They can actually impact the world because this person is not much older than the students that I teach. So when it was all said and done, and when we finished reading the book, I think the whole class, even myself, felt really inspired by this young man's story. So I would give this book also 7 out of 10. All right, let's talk about my next book. So this is a book that continuously comes up. I'm currently rereading the whole series of this book because I plan on releasing a ranking video when I rank these books in order from worst to best. And if you've been watching my videos, you should probably have a clue that this is a series of unfortunate events, The Wide Window by Lemony Snicket. Now, is this my favorite book in the series? No. But is it the worst? Absolutely not. But it's also not the best. It really kind of falls somewhere in the middle. But I love this series so much, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little biased. I think every single one of these books are worth reading. And we followed our 3 Baudelaire siblings, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny, and they are living with another relative, but they are still being chased and tracked down by Count Olaf, who is using his disguises and his trickery to try to get their fortune. We don't really learn too much about the orphans or the organization or their parents or why their house burned down or even why Count Olaf is obsessed with them. I mean, we know he wants the money, but obviously that's not the only reason. But it definitely pushes the plot forward, and it really does have its place in the series. Again, absolutely love this book. If I was being honest, I would give it a 7 out of 10. So we have a lot of 7 out of 10s this month. But if you haven't read this series, bro, what are you waiting for? Like, go out, read this book. You won't regret it. So next, we have an amazing book. It is Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Man, let me just show you the pictures, because this is a graphic novel before I even jump into the review. Look at that artwork, man. This artwork is so dope. So Nimona is about a shapeshifter named Nimona who wants to work with a villain named Ballister Blackheart. So now, the one thing about this book is that it really blurs the lines between hero and villain, because although Ballister is a villain, he's actually justified in his villainy. He has a reason as to why he is the way he is, and we kind of find out towards the end he was not the bad guy. The bad guy was this organization all along. So I love the fact that they kind of blend that line between heroism and villainy. I love the artwork. I love the main characters, Ballister and Nimona. The only thing I wish is that some of the minor characters got a little more plot development, not plot development, character development. But I still think that this book was fantastic. I loved reading it. I've read it twice, one for school and one just to kind of refresh myself with this book. And if I read a book twice, it's definitely because first time I read it, I thoroughly enjoyed the book. So I would definitely go out and read this book. I give it an 8 out of 10. Those are all the books I read this month, and let's do the count. We have Nimona, we have A Series of Unfortunate Events, we have The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, and we have One of Us Is Back. So this month I read 4 books. That averages about 1 book a week, give or take. That means that at the end of July and jumping into August, we are officially at 28 books. A little more than halfway through the year. We are a little more than halfway towards our goals, and I think at the rate that we're going, we're gonna cut it close, don't get me wrong, but I think we are gonna absolutely hit our goal of 50 books this year. I have a question. How many books have you read so far this year? Have you read any of the books that I've read this month or this year? Let me know in the comments, and also like this video, subscribe to the channel. You can also reach out in the comments or my email, supremebookdealer@gmail.com. I hope that you are having fun reading. I hope you are hitting your goals for your reading this year, and as always, be well, keep reading, peace.